Fanáticos y medios de comunicación suelen hablar demasiado sobre los deportistas, cómo juegan, qué creen de ellos y demás. Pero, ¿qué imagen tienen sus pares de los referentes de la liga? ¿Cuál es el estatus de una figura dentro del seno de la competencia? Hoy vamos a descubrir lo que las estrellas de la NBA piensan de las estrellas de la NBA. Y esta vez es el turno del legendario Manu Ginóbili. Manu Ginóbili es oficialmente un Hall of Famer. Semejante reconocimiento sirve para entender lo que significó y significa para el mundo del básquet. Otra manera de hacerlo, una muy interesante, es ir al archivo y buscar qué pensaban y qué piensan sus pares. Esas personas que compartieron cancha con él o que lo vieron en primera persona, ya sea como compañeros o como rivales. Comenzaremos por los primeros, por esa dupla que junto a él conformó a uno de los Big Threes más exitosos de todos los tiempos. Tony Parker y Tim Duncan.
I will not be the player I became without you being my teammate. You were such an inspiration to me every day that it was just contagious. And you helped me become a better player just playing with you and just the passion you had every night. Manu was so unselfish. If you think about it, how many superstars will come off the bench and don't say anything? There's not a lot of superstars. Maybe no superstars can accept that. And he was so humble that it was an inspiration to all of us. And to me, he's the definition of Spurs basketball because he always put his ego last.
Seeing the opposite happen, instead of Pop changing people and breaking people of habits and kind of conforming them to what the Spurs did, Manu went the opposite direction. He kind of broke the system. Obviously, Pop is one of the best ever at figuring out what and when and how to pull the reins and let it go. I think a big part of the reason that he is that way is because of Manu. I sit at home, I watch the draft, and we pick people that I've never heard of. Yeah, sitting there, Emmanuel Ginobili. Who did we just pick? I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna be great. He's this. He's okay, Pop. Whatever. Yeah, okay. Yeah, whatever. He shows up 2 years later. There's a man sitting over here somewhere that took it real personally, Bruce Bowen. And he commenced to wear him out. Every Bruce Bowen trick you've ever seen, he held, he grabbed, he pushed. Manu didn't bat an eye. He didn't change his game, he didn't cry about it. He just went straight ahead, kept on playing. And that's when I knew we had somebody. And for the next year after year after year, I was impressed in every respect. It was all genius. You saw things before anybody else did. You did things nobody else would. You were unbelievable, and it's an honor to be here, and congratulations.
Claramente no fueron los únicos compañeros que describieron de tal modo a Manu. Bruce Bowen, quien justamente Timmy mencionaba como uno de los que más desafió a Ginóbili, no tiene otra cosa que elogios para ofrecer al hablar del argentino.
To see Manu and what if you can just twist Manu and just wring out some of that, I think just some of that would make so many players so much better of what he had inside of him. This young man who has more talent than anybody will ever understand is more like a brother to me. And when you look at all the individuals that he's impacted, it's puro Manu.
¿Y qué decir de Steve Kerr, el actual entrenador de Golden State Warriors y ex miembro de los Spurs? Literalmente lo ama. Como persona cree que es un verdadero ejemplo y como competidor considera que es muy parecido a Stephen Curry.
You know, one thing I always look back on is that first year, his rookie year, 2003, when we won the championship. You know, I was 37 years old, and after the parade, we had a celebration. First, you know, the Riverwalk, but then we went to the Dome, and our fans were there, and we addressed the fans at the Dome on the stage. And as we were leaving, he pulled me aside and he goes, "Hey, I really hope you come back and play next year." And that meant a lot to me. Here's this guy who's a emerging star, and I'm I'm an old man. I'm like, I've had enough, right? I can barely move anymore. And he comes and he puts his arm around me. He goes, hey, I loved having you as a teammate. I really want you to come back and play. That still makes me feel good. So he knew what to say.
I think he should come back 2 more years. I smiled when he made that corner 3 right in front of us at the end of the game. It was just so typical Manu, you know, 41 years old and 16 points and, you know, hits the clinching 3. He's Manu. That's what he does.
It reminds me a little bit of Manu Ginobili. Not so much in the style of play, but in the kind of swashbuckling nature, you know. Manu used to drive Pop nuts. My last year with the Spurs was Manu's rookie year, and you know, Pop would be pulling his hair out, and that's how I felt when I started coaching Steph. You know, he makes these plays that, you know, nobody could have taught him this stuff. You wonder what he's thinking, and then you sort of realize after a while, leave him alone. He's so good that he's going to counteract, you know, the few crazy plays he makes with an amazing number of good ones and clutch ones.
Si hay algo que definió la carrera de Ginobili es el hecho de aceptar el rol de sexto hombre, a pesar de haber podido ser All-Star en más ocasiones de las que lo fue, 2, de tener mejores estadísticas o de incluso poder liderar a una franquicia por su cuenta. Él prefirió mejorar a una dinastía en una función que no era muy común para alguien de su calibre. Lo explica mejor que nadie Scottie Pippen.
The game is bigger than any individual, and him using this as an example, coming off the bench, sacrificing, not being an all-star for years, just giving up that superstar role completely and sacrificing for the benefit of the San Antonio Spurs, the championships that they've won. You know, when you win, good things come out of it. And this is a prime example of a guy that believed in that. As a player, you have to sacrifice no matter what. And there's no player in this game that has sacrificed more than this young man. You know, you look at what Manu did. I take my hat off to him. And the fact that he did it with class. And he did it under one of the toughest coaches. Most guys would have, like, traded me. I don't want to play for this guy. He's yelling, he's not starting me. But he took it like a man, and look at the huge reward of getting your jersey hung up.
Y para nada más y nada menos que Greg Popovich. Esa fue la clave del éxito de San Antonio.
Probably the most important thing that we did in our franchise over this whole span is when Manu Ginobili agreed grudgingly to come off the bench. It's, you know, it sounds like a small thing, but it made us so much deeper, so much more powerful and dangerous. And I can tell you, he didn't like it. He didn't like me. He didn't want to do it until he thought about it. And lucky for me and our team, he's highly intelligent and understood the big picture and what it would mean, and he did it. And so he's going to go into Hall of Fame coming off the bench. We all needed each other, and without Manu, there were no championships. There were no championships.
Si hablamos de Pop, es tal vez quien más veces y mejor ha descrito la competitividad de Manu, esa que tanto caracterizaba su juego, una actitud que lo emparenta, según el coach, con personajes históricos de la NBA.
We knew we had a wild, competitive, young man who was in love with basketball and was quite athletic and just fierce. Just seemed to have no fear and do whatever it might be that he needed to do to win. He was
a force of nature. And that's what we saw, initially, to be honest. He's a special player, a special human being. I've probably said it many, many times before, but, he's one of those guys that's becomes the heart and soul of your team just because of his just exemplary competitiveness. He is really an anomaly in that regard. He has that same foot in your neck attitude that Kobe and Michael had, those kinds of guys, Magic and Larry. He's got the same attitude and plays with that same fire. He always has, and he's been a huge part of any success that we've had.
Hablando de Kobe Bryant, la realidad nos indica que han existido pocos jugadores que hayan recibido tantas señales de respeto por parte suya como ha pasado con Manu. Fue una relación de admiración mutua dentro de un contexto ultra competitivo.
Manu's a special player. His energy is much higher in terms of the style of play. Manu, myself, Westbrook, we all played with that very high motor. And we just, that's what we were born with. Must have driven our parents crazy.
He knew that for us to win the gold medal, we would have to beat Argentina, whether it be in a semis or the gold medal game, and that he wanted to guard Ginobili. Believe me, he already had that figured out, and he was going to prepare to guard Ginobili. It wasn't just to set an example for his team. He had that vision. Crazy. So we do play Argentina in the semis, and we're beating them by 20 points, and Ginobili gets hurt. So now you think we're going to win by 40, and it becomes a 6-point game because now he's not interested anymore.
Increíble, mano. La primera vez que juego contra él, pienso que es una persona que es muy competitiva, porque sus jugadores son jóvenes cuando juego contra ellos por la primera vuelta, son tímidos. Él no, del primer momento me encantó mucho. Es un jugador que es un fenómeno, es muy inteligente, sabe cómo jugar todo el juego, tirar, llegar, pasar, defensa. Es muy inteligente, trabaja mucho. Por eso fue un campeón del NBA también. Pero si lo miras en toda su carrera, sí, es un campeón para Bologna, Virtus, un campeón para San Antonio, un campeón antes de todos cuando era un niño.
¿Y qué de las estrellas actuales? Bueno, Kevin Durant piensa esto del escolta.
His love for the game is deep, I think what's the most impressive to me is he continued to play for his country each summer. I think that's something that should be recognized. He's 39 years old, and he's playing his tail off, man. He looks great out there. Somebody that we're having a hard time standing in front of. But you can just tell how much he loves the game of basketball, and it's something that you can appreciate. It's hard to see it from from watching on TV. Even you probably still see it from watching on TV, but when you're out on the court, it's on another level. It's, he's someone that's a first ballot Hall of Famer who we enjoy having in this league. A lot of us grew up watching Manu and really respecting this game, so play against him and had battles with him year in and year out. It's pretty epic.
No hay registros de video sobre estas declaraciones, pero me parecen muy valiosas, así que vamos a repasarlas igualmente. Curry señaló que Manu es la representación exacta de cómo el básquet debe ser jugado, con pasión y alegría. Ha dicho que obviamente ha sido un campeón de principio a fin y sirvió como inspiración para muchos. El mismísimo LeBron James mencionó que fue un placer enfrentarse a él a lo largo de los años. Temporada regular, finales, con el seleccionado nacional, no importaba. Siempre fue un reto. El básquet debe agradecerle por el movimiento más elegante en la actualidad, el Eurostep. Dwayne Wade sostuvo que Manu ha sido uno de los mejores de todos los tiempos y le agradece por desarrollar el juego y por mostrarles a todos alrededor del mundo cómo luce un verdadero campeón. Ray Allen marcó que estaban asustados hasta la muerte cuando lo veían entrar al juego, porque era muy combativo y creativo. Draymond Green afirmó que es el jugador más difícil que le tocó defender y se dio cuenta cuenta de eso en su año rookie. Y Giannis Antetokounmpo agregó que sirvió como inspiración para todos aquellos deportistas internacionales con sueños de NBA, además de agradecerle por el Eurostep. Lo que me permite cerrar con esta reflexión de Pop acerca de ese movimiento.
It's become, a staple, a skill that everybody gets taught now, or just learns on their own because they know they got to do it because it's so effective. So, yeah, that was his signature for sure.
Did it look like a travel to you at first?
I didn't know what the hell it was, but it didn't look right.
Si llegaron hasta acá y les gustó el contenido, les agradecería mucho que dejaran su like, que comenten lo que quieran y que se suscriban si todavía no lo hicieron. De verdad, es muy importante esto porque hace que el algoritmo recomiende mis videos y le lleguen a más personas. Pueden encontrarme también en las redes sociales y en Twitch. Hoy vamos a estar reaccionando al documental que cuenta la historia de estos San Antonio Spurs con Manu como protagonista, así que los espero en la plataforma morada. Tienen el link en la descripción, así que pueden entrar muy fácilmente. Mi nombre es Leandro Carranza y nos encontramos en la próxima.